Americans don't want a radical, out-of-touch billionaire slashing funding for public schools. Linda McMahon is not qualified to lead America's public education, but that's why Trump nominated her. She's the perfect choice to burn our public education system to the ground, end quote. Remember that?
I do.
You remember when Congressman Mark Pocan, I could be mispronouncing his name, so I apologize, said, quote, Linda McMahon should stick to wrestling. You remember that?
I actually don't remember that one.
Okay, so you just saw that clip. And if you're anything like me, you probably just sat up a little straighter in your chair. That is Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, and honestly, the man is a national treasure. What you just watched is a sitting U.S. Senator doing something that has become genuinely rare in Washington, cutting through the noise, saying what a lot of people are actually thinking, and doing it with a wit so sharp it could cut glass. Now I know what some of you are thinking. It's just politics. But this is different. This man walked into a Senate budget hearing, and instead of reading off talking points like a robot, he quoted the most vicious things people said about Linda McMahon to her face, and then defended her. That takes character. And the way he handled the budget framing, calling out the play acting for the cameras, that was not a partisan attack. That was just true. Both sides do it. He just had the guts to say it out loud. We're going to watch the full video together right now, and I have a lot to say about it. But before we do, if you are tired of politicians who speak in circles and say nothing, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Madam Secretary, first I want to make it clear that my remarks do not refer to my good friend Senator Shaheen. I want to start by saying one person's opinion. You are so cool, literally and figuratively. They call you names, and you just ignore them. I also want to say from the record, I don't think we ought to mislead the American people. This isn't your budget. This budget was put together by OMB in the White House. Every White House does it, sends us a budget. We take a look at it. Some of it we adopt, most of it we ignore. So all this play acting for the cameras is just that, play acting. I want to take you down memory lane. I'm going to come back to the extraordinary job you've done at the Department of Education, which was, when you took it over, was the poster child for excess federal government, chock full of a bunch of woke race baiters whose job was to get in the way of our teachers and our teachers' age. But I want to take you down memory lane because you've done this despite all of the obstacles. Do you remember when my colleague, Senator Schumer, said the following? I'm going to quote. Americans don't want a radical, out-of-touch billionaire slashing funding for public schools. Linda McMahon is not qualified to lead America's public education, but that's why Trump nominated her. She's the perfect choice to burn our public education system to the ground, end quote. Remember that?
I do.
You remember when Congressman Mark Pocan, I could be mispronouncing his name, so I apologize, said, quote, Linda McMahon should stick to wrestling. You remember that?
I actually don't remember that one.
Boy, you can only be young
Did
once.
pretty well with that, though.
You can only be young once, but boy, you can always be immature, can't you? Do you remember when The Nation magazine, very, very democratic magazine, published an article entitled Linda McMahon's only qualification as Education Secretary is a history of spreading hate? And this is what they said. Quote, she is 76 years old and wants her legacy turning the bigotry that made her so obscenely rich into public policy. She's a simpleton. My God. I want extra time, Madam Chair. Everybody else has gotten it. I have been so impressed with the work that you have done in lifting up elementary and secondary education and trying to whittle down that giant rogue beast that we call the Department of Education, the work you've done on school choice and returning authority back to the states and local government and fighting anti-Semitism.
All right, we just watched the whole thing, and I need to decompress for a second. Let me start with the most underrated moment in that entire exchange. Senator Kennedy looks Linda McMahon in the eye and says, "This isn't your budget." He just defused the entire political grenade that Democrats were lobbing at her. Because he's right. Every administration sends a budget proposal to Congress, and Congress does largely whatever it wants with it. That's how it has always worked. Pretending otherwise is theater, and Kennedy called it exactly that. Now, the quotes. Kennedy reading out that line from The Nation magazine. She is 76 years old. She's a simpleton. While McMahon sits there with quiet dignity, that was powerful. He wasn't doing it to embarrass McMahon. He was doing it to embarrass the people who said it. And it worked. The Schumer quote about her burning the education system to the ground, the poke and stick to wrestling line, Kennedy was making a deliberate point. The critics came in with maximum contempt and minimum substance. And McMahon's response proved him right. She didn't rage. She didn't grandstand. She talked about phonics programs, the Mississippi Miracle, idea funding, actual policy. That is the contrast Kennedy was building the entire time.
Here is what they said about you.
Here is what you actually did.
You tell me who was right.
Now I want to talk about Kennedy himself for a second, because this is what separates him from most politicians. The man is funny. Genuinely funny. They hit you with everything but a chair. I nearly fell off my seat. But here's the thing about Kennedy's humor. It is never just a joke. Every laugh line is doing political work. When he said, "You can only be young once, but you can always be immature," he wasn't just getting a chuckle. He was calling his opponents petty and childish. And he did it with a smile. Then he pivoted beautifully from comedy to real substance. School choice. State authority. Fighting anti-Semitism. Women's sports. A real legislative record in about 30 seconds. That is a man who knows exactly what he is doing at a podium. McMahon's response was also worth paying attention to. She was measured and specific. The Mississippi Miracle point was genuinely impressive. A state near the bottom in reading adopted evidence-based phonics, stuck with it for 10 years through all the skeptics, and turned it around. Now other states are copying them. That is government working, not Washington bureaucracy, states working. And that distinction matters. The $500 million idea funding increase for special education also deserves more attention than it gets. Kids with disabilities need support, and that is not a conservative versus liberal issue. McMahon defended it clearly and directly, and that should be something everyone agrees on. So look, I am not here to tell you what party to support. But I am here to call out when a politician is operating at a genuinely high level, with substance, with humor, with honesty. And that is exactly what Senator Kennedy delivered in this hearing. He is one of the most underrated political communicators in the country right now, and if this is your first time seeing him in action, trust me, it will not be your last. Drop in the comments, what was your favorite moment? Was it the Schumer quote? The chair line? McMahon's response? Let me know. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this one, and I will see you in the next one.